Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Have the Race Gone for the NES 5th season of action. It is the third round here from the Nürburgring GP. So welcome to your second daily dose, the daily fix of GT Sport action here on the channel. And welcome to the first fix of multi-class action this week. Hello, Mikey, nice to have you along. Ryan, welcome. I think you're just fine and safe in letting the car in the hands of Martin, the man from Favhuizen, back in the NES. Now driving the Porsche 919 with the TSR team. Just slightly off the pace of the Mad Greek CJ, who's been fastest in practice so far in the Tomahawk. He's joined by Pinkery, a well-known face here on the channel as well. He's done quite a number of series back and forth. And then we have Norwegian Sailor in the non-hybrid Audi R18 that's expected to suffer somewhat here at the Nürburgring. Evening to Ninja Karma as well, the French monster here tagging along. What a pleasure it is. We've got Fred Dude, of course, in the M6, the Beamer. Qualifying is getting underway in just about 5 minutes time. But anyway, Fred Dude, fastest so far it seems, at least from what we can see here on track. In the M6, in the GT class, Swablu around half a second behind in the Calsonic GTR. And then we got Opiolu in the Corvette. Car that's seen plenty of NES success historically. Hanging out in the pits as well, we have Wybear and Joe of the Fire as well in the two Nuke Shot Toyotas, alongside Crazy John in the Tomahawk, still fastest here in practice. We also got the second TSR 919 of Wake hanging out here in the pits at the moment, with Pinkery pitting in for a tire change here late on. And a good evening and a very warm welcome to you early joiners here, of course, still doing practice sessions about 4 minutes, I think, away from the start of qualifying. Excuse me. And from there on, time to crack one open. I think we're in for an interesting one. Here's Canoni in the Fanta R8 on track, or what I think is the first time. We've got Toshost here as well in the AMG GT3, AMG GTE if you will, this version. Pretty nice looking livery, I have to say. The Belarusian, and as our race director Joe of the Fire duly notes here, race director for at least lobby times and all that. GT qualifying starts in 3 minutes, so the GTs are first up to do their runnings, and then it's going to be the time of the LMPs afterwards. Pinkery is still in the pits. Doesn't seem to be in a great big hurry to get out there again. Sailor about the second off the pace of Martin at the moment. It does seem the non-hybrid Audi struggling on raw pace, but I do expect it to be very strong though on its fuel economy. Something that we might as well just see. If I recall correctly, it's very strong on it, alongside the Peugeot 908. Swablu seemingly with a good lap. And Wake on that out lap. Putting in his first practice just at the final moment of the session. The Belgian seems to have plenty of confidence when it comes to it. And hello Martin, of course welcome CJ as well, the regular lads, and the racers as well. And do come join in, Ryan, there should be space for another LP. Hello Wake. So 1 hour of racing, and I can just go over the regulations for you quickly as well, because tire choice is free, and it's tires times 3 and fuel times 2 for these races. And what is up, Wake? Well, what is up with me? Qualifying is up and on, that's what's up, and did the IGTRL earlier. That is also kind of what's up. Good fun. Indeed, and now, as I mentioned, qualifying underway. I'd like to see that TSR Odium of yours. Here the GTs taking it to the track. 10 minutes of qualifying for them now. We could have figured. Joe of the Fire, Ybear, Fred Dude, Swablu, Opolu, and Tashust. Waiting to see Canoni and the Audi join track as well. They'll be out last. In the 329 Fanta Audi R8, a machine that I have driven myself in championships, in leagues, in GT Sport before. It's a feisty machine, but it can be fast if it's tamed correctly. We've had Joe of the Fire just getting through the hairpin, now coming up through the Schumacher S's. See if we can make that work. No. So it worked for the IGTL. Perhaps it's when you have the qualifying session that I can be glad to try again. Okay. So no direct switching to the driver's point of view for this race. That's a bit of a shame, because it did, and it does indeed look nice. I do agree with that. So the new hashtag is mute to burp, and that will hopefully replace real burp in time to increase our levels of decency ever so slightly. Joe of the Fire, first off, qualifying in the 27 car, the reigning LMP champ. There's Ybear in the 99 machine, the Indonesian right behind, trying to get pulled on along, driving the FT1s. Of course, not a one-shot qualifying session like we saw earlier with the IGTL. not full pressure on for the opener here. Swablu on the way through the Schumacher SS, throwing it in. Oh, and picking up a penalty on the first lap, so that's one lap ruined for Swablu. Of course, not bound to be the quickest lap with the fuel burn and everything, but it is nevertheless a lap wasted. Up from behind comes Opiolu. Not gonna come too close though. Especially important here in the final corner not to lose the downforce of the car in front, that's for sure. And here on the exit, Fred Dude, fastest so far, but very close with the witty Professor Joe of the Fire. Just under half a tenth of a second between the two, and then further down, just a tenth off Fred Dude in third, at the moment at least, is Y-Bear. So the top three very close indeed. And then there's a little bit more of a considerable gap to Opiolu in fourth, Swablu in fifth, who had that penalty. Toshast must have had some kind of issue too on that lap, and Canoni, well, Canoni's in the pits. So Canoni brothers certainly not getting any laps done at the moment. That is for sure. Fred Dude on a provisional pole. And the Belgian has been going very well over the first two races in the NES here. Of course, racing for Starscream Enterprise, the more than pink cars. We've seen him in several of the leagues. Been very present in the TSR races. They've been racing over in the BR as well. And as mentioned, here is Joe of the Fire. He is gonna let Y-Bear through, I think, on this one. Y-Bear could be on a flyer on this lap. We're gonna follow the Indonesian father of two, if I'm not completely mistaken, as he calls them, mini Y-Bears. Here is Joe of the Fire, breaks off into the pits. And what's it gonna be for Y-Bear? Is it gonna be... Nope, it's not gonna be an improvement. Opiolu pitting in as well. Well, Swablu improves and is now 0.6 of a second off of the leading pace. Certainly helped getting rid of that penalty, and it's enough to get fourth place provisionally on the grid. What about Opiolu? Didn't improve there to Shust. I don't think there was any improvement as well on that last lap. Canoni has now gotten out again. And it's on a new out lap. Might be suffering with concerns to fuel now. That could be a bit of a problem. Of course, Fred Dude, Joe of the Fire, both on outlaps at the moment as well. I'd be expecting Y-Bear to pit on this one. Thing is, I'm gonna be able to make... Nope. I mean, I wouldn't expect it, at least. I don't think that is gonna be the end of the session. That is gonna be the end of the session, I think, for Y-Bear. Yeah, going to be able to make that way around. I think it's going to be too long. And same goes for Swablu here. And of course, Fred Dude, Joe of the Fire, and the rest of those on their outlaps now. They do seem to have timed it perfectly indeed. And here comes that final shot of a lap. Fred Dude, Joe of the Fire, they're separated by just half a tenth of a second. Out comes the other cars. Anyway, they're gonna give it a shot, but with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, they are not gonna make it. Be interesting to follow these two. Wirebear, Swablu, they're not gonna make another lap. Opiolo is gonna make another one. Same goes for Toshast. Kanoni, of course, as well. So still everything to play for. With 25 seconds remaining, Fred Dude is on a flyer on this lap. Purple. Joe of the Fire, I'm not sure, has an answer for the pace of the Belgian. The hot lap pace, at least. And alright, Sailor. Although I haven't seen any troubles for you yet here. Joe of the Fire is purple as well, but does get the rear end slightly into the gravel, and I'm sure that could just impede the witty professor in the battle for pole position. Let's gonna see here. Oh, Toshast spin off. And Q over for the GTs, and that means Fred Dude does improve, but Joe of the Fire takes pole position by 0.2 of a second. The witty professor there with a 1:54.2. I'm sure that's gonna be pole. Opiolu nudges down Swablu by 29 hundredths of a second. 200ths of a second, that's 29 thousandths of a second, of course, but nevertheless, close margins. And Kanoni also having finished there and 7th, so it's Joe of the Fire in class pole in front of Fred Dude. Wirebear keeping 3rd position in front of Opiolu, and then it's Swablu, Toshast, and Kanoni. And with that, it's gonna be green lights for the LMPs to qualify in a moment. Yikes, what happened to Swablu? It just left. Oh, Mikey. A little incident in qualifying. Well, that's unlucky if it means that Fred, because it did seem like Fred Dude was as well on a strong runner there. GT can go to the pits now, called out by Joe of the Fire there. So frustrating it must be for Fred Dude to miss out on pole position because of being held up in that situation, as I've understood it. But that is, in the end, that is how motor racing is, especially qualifying sessions. But that is looking to be a very good race between the top runners in the GT Pro field, with the Joe of the Fire, Wirebear, and Pinkery only separated by a couple of tenths of a second. Evening to you, Stick, TSR Motorsport. Nice, Xavier Long getting greeted by the dog as well. So now we're just waiting for the LMPs to get the green light to go. The question is, will Ryan be joining? 14 minutes, that's in 40 seconds by now. And where is Ryan then, if he's gonna be racing? That's a good question. But he did mention being a little bit dead after the IGTL race earlier, and can't blame him, really. Martin really wants to go. It's audible, clearly audible in one of the two. So far, 919s. Here goes the LMPs. So Martin first out, then Pinkery, Sailor, and CJ. And then we're waiting for Wake to get out of there as well. And they'll have 10 minutes of qualifying as well. Be very interesting to see how much of a pace difference there is, or there happens to be, between the different cars. Of course, there is also quite some differences in fuel consumption, which we saw at the race at Maggiore. Really was more than we perhaps expected to see, at least. And it made for a heck of a race there. It could very well do the same. The two Volex Tomahawks hanging out a little further back, of course, CJ and Pinkery. On board with Sailor. And it looks completely lag-free on Sailor's part here, so that's perfect. It should be we Scandinavians are known to have the best internet connection in the world. I don't know if that's necessarily true, although my fiber net does hold up on its part, as I'm knocking the table softly because I don't want any fallout. Well, here comes lap 1, the first flying lap for TSR Martin. Let's go on board with the Dutchman. Oh, it's a little bit of a slide on. Exiting turn 1. Now through the stadium section. Seems on the limit, but orderly. Quick out of that corner there, Martin, as well. Flying out. Looks too slow. Turns and down towards the hairpin. There they braking up towards the Schumacher S's. Flat out through here on the super softs. That's very late braking though as well. Just managing to keep it in. And then on to the back straight. Seems like a good lap so far for TSR Martin. Cuts the chicane nicely as well. And now through the final corner. It's gonna keep it within the 40s. It might very well be. It's gonna be close. It isn't gonna do that. Just about 140.5 for TSR Martin on the opening lap. That's not bad at all. And Wake is not able to match that pace. At least not here at the beginning of affairs. Just about half a second down on the opening lap. The next one to cross the line will be Pinkery of the Volex Esports team. The first of the Tomahawks there, picking up a half a second penalty. So that's that lap gone for Pinkery. Sailor also hasn't had a perfect lap. Here comes CJ though, seems to be flying up through the last corner. But that has been far from a perfect lap from the Greek as well. 1.5 seconds down on Martin. Seemingly on a blistering pace, the Dutchman. And knowing that the 919 is pretty strong on its fuel economy, it's pretty strong on its tires, and Martin 2.5 tenths up on that personal best. And that's gonna better everything that we've seen so far in practice as well. And unless CJ can pull out some absolute flyer, that's gonna be it as well here. 140.1 TSR Martin. What a lap indeed to provisionally go so far clear of the opposition. Wake improves by 3 tenths as well. That'll only be enough to stay just around that half second behind teammate Martin. And CJ looking to get close, but at the moment 1.7 seconds off. Or I'm sorry, of course, 0.7 of a second. It's not that bad. Now through the chicane, what's it gonna be for CJ? Pinkery choosing to pit in on this lap. Here comes CJ. And it's gonna just bump down Wake into third on the grid. Although not really getting close enough to challenge Martin in the 919. And there is the pit stop for Pinkery. It's a quick one. And back out. They should have the time. Pinkery is well clear time-wise to get a fresh set of tires for another run, for another hot lap. The drivers, it's gonna be a little more close, I think, for them. I mean, we have 3 minutes and 20 seconds left of the qualifying session. Here Martin comes into the pit, so he is well clear for getting a final run. And CJ should be alright as well. Should be alright. Of course, given also that the LMPs do lap the circuit somewhat quicker than the GTs. Martin's back out from the pit stop. Wake is in at the moment. That was absolutely flying tomahawk there. It's indeed CJ pitting in instantly. 2.5 minutes on the safe side of things as well. Here is Sailor on a flyer. And Pinkery not really seeming to have it really working yet, but I think there is, and indeed there is 2 laps left to make good for here for Pinkery. CJ exits the pit. 2 minutes to go. An evening to David Kendall, nice to have you along. As mentioned, 2 minutes to go of the LMP qualifying session. So the pointy end of qualifying affairs here. We've got TSR Martin putting down a pace that no one else really has been able to match so far. And then it's been a close fight between CJ and TSR Wake for third. And then we're looking at Pinkery to put in a functional lap. I think there's been somewhat having some kind of issues for the first 2. Here it is. One more attempt, and that's a major improvement already coming out of the hairpin through the second sector. Well, with ample space to pull back more time, the Brit Seems very orderly and planted, the Tomahawk. And it's on course to tip off Sailor, at the very least, by the looks of things, for fourth on the grid. Through the final corner, let's see what's it gonna be. I'm gonna dip into the 40s. That's low 41s, and it's well in fourth place territory for Pinkery at the moment. Sailor though out to defend it, as we're gonna see. And now CJ on a flyer as well. Same goes for both Martin and Wake. Be first of those to cross the line. I think that'll be the Belgian. There is the flag, the checkered flag. So it'll be this lap and no more for the drivers. And Wake is on a purple lap. And that's through the... That's at sector 3, so it's the final sector now. And through that final chicane, up to the final corner. What's it gonna be? Is it gonna be pole position? Is it gonna be a provisional pole for TSR Wake? Is it gonna hold water all the way through? 140.6. It's not gonna be. And CJ is down into the final sector as well on his personal best. Martin, I don't think there was an improvement as well. So it is gonna be second place, I think, for CJ, unless the Mad Greek can pull out an insane final sector here. And I don't see that happening. It's an improvement, but it's not enough. So it's Martin in front of CJ, Wake, Pinkery, and Sailor in the LMPs. And with that said, there's gonna be the short 5-10 minute break for the drivers before we get the racing action underway. The break specifically in place to avoid drivers peeing in their pants. But a very, very, very strong lap for Martin. From Martin to take pole for TSR. And be interesting to see if the race pace can hold up. Traditionally, we're gonna see some pole position donuts. Anyway, traditionally, the GP layout here of the Nürburgring, very tough on the tires, especially for these LMPs and for the hybrids. Very much on the front, like they try to bring down some power as well as they're doing the steering. So, interesting to see what kind of strategies will be run. Yeah, I will see Martin becoming declassified now for going the wrong way. Well, perhaps CJ, it's the first time we've seen somebody of equal skill in one of the 919s on a track that serves it better. It'll be interesting to see how it goes for the race. This wasn't the picture for Maggiore at all. Of course, the Nürburgring not being a high-speed track whatsoever. And perhaps Martin's beginning to find out that the place on the top is a lonely place. It's a cold place indeed. So the question is, lifetime, please. Still see the other laps? No, that's completely been messed up. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Of course, we've got Felix in the safety car as well. A shout out for taking that responsibility. Very civilized behavior here from the LMP drivers. A surprisingly low amount of smashes. The safety car. The unsafety car. The danger car, Jimmy. And David, we've got 7 GTs on the grid today. We had to have a full grid this season for some reason. So what's that? If the race is too boring, that's what you do. You call out the danger car to go around and drift and cause some havoc. Slow-moving drifter. That the danger car. I think we'll have to implement that at some point in the future. Very not serious at all. It would be good fun. Martin's going the wrong way. Is he trying to turn back time? Or is he aiming for Pinkery? It could be... No. Spared the life of Pinkery and himself. Damage is off. Well, that it shouldn't be. Well, backwards racing, if it's short enough, I don't think you need the danger car. But that's one thing we'll have to do again soon. That's for sure. Well, you'll have to ask Martin. He's right there in chat. Perhaps he can give you an answer. While Pinkery is just mowing the lawn. I just have to check whether it's true that damage is actually off. Yeah. Damage is actually off. But I think Joe should be on it. Now what's the faster way of completing the race distance? The Midas touch indeed, as damage has been turned on. OP Olu is going to be starting at the back, running with the wrong BOP, it seems, is in qualifying. That's a Bit of a hit to take for Opiolu. Hopefully we'll be ready to get the race running soon indeed. So on board with Wake as he's going for just that extra bit of prep. As the grid order of course needs to be reset with the track conditions reset and with the damage having to be turned on. We should be getting underway shortly by now, more or less any time. There is the question, is everyone ready? Hopefully we'll get a bunch of whys and yeses and then we can get the racing underway here from the NES. From the third round of the 5th season. From the Nürburgring GP, it's going to be 1 hour of racing. And hopefully we'll see a clean one, although it is a chaotic place to do the overtaking traffic, especially when you encounter it up through that stadium section. The Schumacher S is also known to be difficult. There isn't really space for more than one car, especially since it's flat for the LMPs and not really so for the GTs. So here it is. The race has gotten underway. Of course, we'll have the qualifying or the formation lap, that is, to contend with first, and then we will get the actual racing underway. So here it is, the grid order, of course, the safety car driven by Felix there, lining him out, and then Martin, CJ, Wake, Pinkery, and Sailor in the LMPs, and then the show off the Fire Fred dude, and the rest of the bunch, Y-Bear there in third in the GTs, and that's as far as I got, to be honest. Field seemingly getting safely away from it. And that's at least one point where the NES has been better so far, at least than what we saw at the IGTL from the Interlagers. We had so much trouble getting those rolling starts and the formation laps away safely. Of course, there's meant to be this slight gap forming between the LMPs and the GTs to ensure that the two classes aren't too closely intertwined when the racing starts. We're on board with the safety car, and it's very much a safety car and not a danger car. And it is indeed, David, 37, well it's 36 effectively laps of Twilight Hell, or Light Hell, Hell Light, Twilight Hell Light, can we call it that? It's not really hell, although it is still a challenging place to race automobiles around the Nürburgring GP circuit. The tarmac is not grippy at all. It's actually one of the most slidey circuits, at least in GT Sport. If you compare it to Maggiore, well, the tarmac has a completely other feel of grip there. Quite a bit of tire warming going on there for the LMPs, of course. So important to both have temp in tires and brakes early on. As they're now into the final sector. Here it is, Martin, CJ, Wake, Pinkery and Sailor. Long time tire warming there, the LMPs. The GT's already beginning to form up behind. That's very early. They might be suffering from that because it's still a bit of way to go, and they won't be going quickly at all as they bunch up. Now the safety car has broken off. It's now Martin controlling the LMP field. And he's still waiting, and I think he has certainly pressed the loud pedal, and he's gone. And he's taken teammate Wake right past the Volex Tomahawk of CJ up into second position. Oh, and Wake thanks Martin, but just about binning it. CJ takes back the position there. And Pinkery has gotten it all wrong as well, I suspect, as Joe of the Fire is holding on to the lead in front of Fred Dude. Then it's Swablu. And what has happened there to Y-Bear, far behind as well. We're just going to take another look at that entire situation in not too long here. Although, first of all, we're just going to see, as we're on board here with Wake, sends it up the inside and takes back second place. So here it is, the onboard from Wake from the start. Got the superb run using the hybrid boost, and then just loses the rear end. And then what happened to Pinkery? Well, Pinkery, that's a big oof for Pinkery indeed. Got all the way off there. And now far way back, but not picking up any damage, it seems. So that's, to say the least, very, very, very lucky. Here is Canoni. And the question is, has there been any chat action? Nope, there has been no reports of damage as well. And that's, of course, quite nice. But Canoni seems to have fallen off the pace somewhat here. Martin having led them through. Wake still second, followed closely by CJ and Sailor in the Audi, keeping up pretty well so far. And then having yet to overtake the entire GT field, it's Pinkery, who certainly got a terrible start indeed. Joe of the Fire gotten pretty well off the line, and now holding a 1.2 second advantage down to Belgian Fred Dude in second. In the Starscream BMW, it's Swablu in the GTR now third after Y-Bear bended. Opiolu in the Corvette is up into fourth place there. Tashust is in the AMG, is in fifth in class. And it's Pinkery making his way up through. And then right behind Tashust, it's of course Y-Bear. And David, that's the Toyota FT1. The concept that came before the Supra Gazoo Racing concept. back when it was more of a supercar, I guess. Fred Dude seeming to keep up pretty well here with the Witty Professor. That battle was called out to be hot early on, and it very much seems it is, because it doesn't seem like Joe of the Fire can really break away from Fred Dude at the moment. Here comes Pinkery. It's gonna slide in between the two. Isn't gonna be any other option, I think. Given that Joe of the Fire was, of course, under no obligation to move out in these circumstances here. And by now, Pinkery half a minute down, finally on top of the GTs. Let's have a look at the leading cars here. Martin still leading away from Wake and CJ. And at the moment, it seems like the two Porsches are sailing away, looking very strong here, the TSR Porsches. Welcome Splurge, nice to have you along as well. There is Crazy John on a personal best at the moment, lap time 1:41.8, so that's not bad for a race pace at all. CJ running the super softs here, just gonna go through. Same goes for Martin, same goes for Wake. And then we've got Pinkery on the regular softs as the odd one out in the LMP field. We're gonna go back with Joe of the Fire, who has extended the gap now to just over a second, down to Fred Dude. And then in third in the GG class, but some couple of seconds down on Fred Dude, it's Swablu getting caught, it seems, by Opiolu. And oh, Splurge, I could only imagine that this is gonna be a very tough one indeed for the long boy. Oh, Ribberoni. Swablu doing well to extend down to the Corvette of Opiolu at the moment. Wybear having lost out, it seems, not picking up any damage. Gotten passed on to Shust and Canoni as well. There it is, Fred Dude having picked up 2 tenths, almost 3 here by the end of the start-finish straight. Question is here also about strategy, fuel consumption, and so on. Might impact the race later, although I think the difference is actually bigger for the LMPs here. Fred Dude very quick through the stadium section this time around. Looking very good, and also improving on the personal best. But Joe of the Fire with a brilliant exit down towards the hairpin, picking up on a couple of tenths alone there. Fred Dude almost going too deep, but in turn managing to come back on Joe of the Fire. I think they will be tugging away at it for some time indeed. And out in front, it's still 1.4 seconds between the two 919s of Martin and Wake. The two TSR machines are looking very strong here. And CJ predicted it himself that the non-hybrid Tomahawk would suffer here at the Nürburgring GP. And then Sailor, the R18, the 2011 version, the old one, so to say. It's a very nice growl to that diesel engine, non-hybrid of course. And should that car have a chance here, it should be only over strategy, fuel saving and such. Being 8.5 seconds down on Martin already. I think it's really going to be a possibility here at the end of lap 5. We're going to go back with Fred Dude and Joe of the Fire. Fred Dude closing in 0.6 of a second now. And the witty professor is beginning to feel the pressure. The heat is building up under the boilers at the head of the GT field here. Fred Dude gets a brilliant run through the S's as Joe of the Fire just misses the first apex. We have to wonder, is the BMW that much stronger on slipstream or on the tires? Could be indeed. Nevertheless, really getting close this time around. Now on board with the Wang Cam, the machine of Joe of the Fire, and on to the start-finish straight. And away he goes with an advantage that's clear enough to at least know that there's no attacks coming into turn 1. The big braking zone. One of the most obvious overtaking spots here at the Nürburgring. Already on a little bit of an island here in 3rd place in the GT class. Swablu, Opiolu there. Now feeling the heat from Weiber as well. Oh, Weiber getting close. Indeed, closer than close actually, to the rear end of Opiolu through the stadium section, but there's no way past that Corvette. The Brit holds on to it, for now at least. Although Weiber, oh, he wants to send it, and he does indeed send it. When that turned out to be a little bit of a dodgy move, I think Opiolu found themselves ill-warned about what was to come on board with the Wang Cam of Opiolu here. There is the send, just reacting in time. And then of course aiming for the cutback. And we're not gonna see if that worked on the replay. And it actually looks like it, because Weiber didn't make that one stick. Could have been a mistake afterwards as well. Good racing from Opiolu nonetheless, holding on to 4th place as Weiber massively sends it wide, coming onto the back straight there. Far from optimal here through the kink. And I think that's almost going to be the slipstream lost as well. And with that, it's Martin now beginning to catch up. And of course, there's already been a couple of cars overtaken. Wake is amidst the traffic as well. He's looking to get past Weiber and Opiolu for the time being. Here past goes Martin as well. Some intensive flashing going on. And then into turn 1 they go, safely past for Wake, keeping the rear end in check this time around as well. An absolute send up the inside there as well. The mission, it seems. But that's so very true. David, traffic giveth, traffic taketh. And I'm sure this race will teach us that very exact lesson today as well. It is usually the name of the game here. Martin seems to go very safely through. He's lost some time, it seems, on Wake as well. The Belgian really charging at the moment. If they get past on Swablu here, so only the top 2 GT leaders remaining for the LMP leaders by now. CJ having lost some time as well here, and now getting company. So yeah, a little bit of dog action happening in the background, it seems. So far, Martin Wake gotten safely through there, and CJ regaining some of what was lost there. Sailor seeming to suffer on getting past on Swablu there, but finally making its stake through the stadium section. Oh, so damage to Joe and Sailor, that's worth checking out. Well, no damage to Sailor. And get passed on Joe of the Fire pretty safely this time around. There's no damage to the car of the Witty Professor as well. Yellow flags though. Was that just because of the safety car in the pits getting yellow flag? That's a little bit strange, to be honest, though. Although I'm back, ladies and gents, I had to figure out what was the occasion for such barking background, obviously. There's Sailor seeming to lose a lot of time on CJ through the traffic this time around. Oh, it is you. It is you, Snippy. That's pretty good to know. Look at this, though. Fred Dude really clinging on to the rear end of Joe of the Fire so far, doing a brilliant job of... Oh, that's... Felix, that's PD at its best. Faultless, always faultless. Here's that good old pressure to the rear end of Joe of the Fire. He is one of the coolest heads though, and as we know, cool heads shall prevail. Although, is it gonna be too close this time around? Just 0.2 of a second. Almost within striking distance into the chicane, but just about not there. Oh, a squirmy moment there for Joe of the Fire. That's gonna be costly. Down towards the final corner. You see Fred Dude aiming for a softer apex and a faster exit speed this time around. Joe of the Fire has to go defensive. Showing nothing but the outside to Fred Dude, and then the squeeze. Well defended there, Joe of the Fire. We're gonna have another look instantly with that one. From the outside, between the two. As Fred Dude is squeezed out. Given space, but no space for overtaking for the Belgian there. Nope. Nope, Snip. That's a good call indeed. It's the correct call as well. No doubt about that. Here is Pinkery, is that coming up to these two to lap him? Still third is Swablu, he's still on an island as well, and still battling with Opiolu is Ybear. The Ybear has now gotten past on Opiolu. So that's fourth for Ybear for now. By the way, Opiolu in 5th place, then it's of course Tushast in 6th, and it's Kanoni in 7th place at the moment. Gretchen, what you missed is, well, you've missed Pinkery binning it on the opening lap. Wake gaining second place from CJ. Some good bit of battling between Joe of the Fire and Fred Dude. Still only separated by a few tenths of a second. This time Fred Dude actually trying to go around the outside of the final corner. Or is it going to be a cutback? Well, there isn't going to be space for that exactly, but he gets a very good launch onto the front straight here, and I don't think there's going to be any defending this time around for Joe of the Fire. Fred Dude does have the slip up the inside here into turn 1. Shall it be late enough for the Belgian? Can Joe of the Fire hold on to it here? It's been brilliant so far. Manages, I think, to hold on until turn 2, shutting out Fred Dude here through the stadium section. Oh, and that's a little bit of contact. Joe of the Fire with a major slide, managing somehow to catch it. And I didn't see what happened. We're going to have another look shortly, but they're just too close to split apart at the moment on board here with Fred Dude. Not from what I know of, but it might have happened without me knowing it. That's really good defending indeed from Joe of the Fire here, as Fred Dude is trying to squeeze the nose up the inside. Can't find any space to do so whatsoever. Now let's have a look at that situation from before here. Coming into turn 1, it was indeed Fred Dude on the inside. You would think that's the battle done and dusted for, but Joe of the Fire really just not wanting to budge, holding on to it on the inside. That was, though, a heavy bit of contact between the two. There's no damage to the car of Fred Dude from what we can see. There is no damage as well to Joe of the Fire's car, so very well built machines, it has to be said. And that of course goes for both Toyotas and BMWs of real as well. So lucky indeed. And Wybear has gotten past. Wybear, what happened to Swablu? That's actually the question. Oh, Swablu was the first one to pit. So there's the answer. Well, that's better than had it been a crash for the Brit. Swablu now in 5th place behind Wybear and Opiolu, but of course with that time advantage of having been in for fresh rubber and those necessary drips of fuel coming into the car as well. Martin, by the way, is still leading Wake. The two TSR 919s are looking strong as ever. 141 1 on the last lap for Martin, so having slipped down ever so slightly on pace from the quickest lap pace, which is a 140 dead. That's very fast indeed. But the two keeping hold of a 10-second advantage down to CJ there in 3rd and the Volex Tomahawk. It's Sailor 4th and Pinkery in the 2nd of the Volex machines there in 5th place. Back to that GT lead battle. The gift that seems to be keep on giving for this race at least, as Joe of the Fire is forced to go defensive more or less yet again, and that's into the S's that you'd expect to have to squeeze anyone. And Jimmy, the Super Softs are really also beginning to look worn for these drivers. Here is Fred Dude with a very good run on Joe of the Fire. He knows that he cannot close the door there into the kink, but the kink is made all the much sharper by the fact that Joe of the Fire is actually there. This time Fred Dude into the chicane. He's not going to be able to make it stick. There's the situation from before. The brilliant round between Joe of the Fire and Fred Dude. Exchanging blows, and then that bit of contact. I have to say, it is impressive that there's no damage to either of those cars from that situation. And Erebus CJ seeming to be suffering under the fact that he's not in a hybrid machine, and under the fact that the TSR lads are on a very strong pace here. Early race, they are really hammering it along. They are, of course, both driving the Porsche 919 hybrid machines. And there's CJ getting past on Swablu. And yeah, stick damage is on. We did get it set to heavy before, but although it was a little bit strange, considering that Pinkery had an off, could have collected some damage, but we could also just have been seeing drivers being lucky. But yeah, indeed, Erebus, now it makes sense all of a sudden. CJ sliding about as we see the super softs on the Tomahawk, so really beginning to show signs of wear. I'm gonna jump back with the battle here between Joe of the Fire and Fred Dude. And what a fool I've been to look away for any time whatsoever, because it's close as ever between the two. Onto the wang cam here on the back straight and through the kink, and then straight to the defensive inside, making sure that Fred Dude doesn't throw it up there. It seems the BMW very strong through the chicane pretty much every time around. Oh, CJ playing mind games there. Comes Fred Dude with a good run on Joe of the Fire. And this time around, an attempt to gain that outside through turn 1. Well, if you can stay out there, it's a very viable way of doing it indeed. Fred Dude is just not giving an inch to Joe of the Fire, and he's having to defend for every single inch of the way. So far, at least, it's been that way for the Witty Professor, leading, but only just leading the GT Pro field. Oh, and here comes a big send from Fred Dude into the hairpin. No one was expecting that one, and it's a brilliant move to take the lead of the GT Pro field. Let's have another look, or 2 or 3, because you can easily bear to have more than one look. Such a brilliant one there from Fred Dude, I have to say. Very, very, very nice stuff indeed. Let's have another one here. And now reports of mechanical damage further down the field. Let's see. Toshast and Canoni. So where's Canoni in all of this? I cannot see any damage to his car. I cannot see it as well now, so that's a little bit strange, I have to say. And here is Toshas defending from Wybear. Could have been the wrong car. Mentioned, can't I see damage? What is going on? What is going on? Well, there's no way I can tell. When I can't see the damage, I cannot call out the safety car. It's that simple. Brilliant move, by the way, from Fred Dude, who's now completely left Joe of the Fire in the dust and is now well clear. By over a second into the pits goes Sailor, and that's to fill up Freddie Barry. You've guessed right, it is the Nuke Shot Endurance Series, held by and organized by the man formerly known as Off Apple. It's now Nuke Shot Sokyo, and it's the 5th season of running. It's been running since the days of Gran Turismo 6. It's this multi-class LMP GT3 1-hour format. It's split into two splits. This is the top split of the two. Here is Sailor threading their way through the GT traffic. Tasha's holding on to it in front of Wyberg, but those two are very close as well, and I think Wyberg gets a really good run this time around. But indeed, rest in peace to Canoni, whose car was parked before. It's back out running now, or so it seems. Although it seems also to be having pressed pause or something on it, so that's anything but lucky. Martin, let's just check on that. Still leading Wake in the 2.919s. The gap is static down to CJ. Hashtag real burp. The gap is very much static down to CJ in third in the Tomahawk. And then Pinkery and Sailor quite a bit of way down. Sailor there with the early pit stop. Fred Dude with the brilliant move on Joe of the Fire to take class lead. And Joe of the Fire seemingly now to be suffering with the tires. They are more than dead. Those fronts absolutely hammered. And they're going for a one-stopper on those super softs. That is very impressive as well. Yes, we have Canoni Brothers, the Swayze car. It's actually back. It's back to life, but it's dipping into the pits, which is not necessarily a good sign. The R8 of Canoni Brothers. Here's Toshast having picked up some kind of penalty. He's still not sure with the damage and everything there. And here comes the first of the leading LMP's pit stops, and that's CJ pitting in from third place. 14 seconds down on Martin, 9 seconds down on Wake, so that is a considerable gap indeed. Very much so. Canoni, it seems, has parked the car after whatever issues there were in that situation. Sad to see. And Joe of the Fire, that seemed also to have been a very necessary pit stop for the Witty Professor. 4.2 seconds, so a massive loss of time there. And there is the pit stop coming on from Joe of the Fire. And sorry to hear so. Canoni, of course, the stewards will have a look at that incident post-race. And maybe also to see why I don't see damage. Could that be a glitch we haven't seen really before? Well, I wouldn't be surprised, at least given the PD nature of things. Here on the outside of Joe of the Fire, it is Opiolu, very close. Oh, not close enough. Swablu has inherited that second place. And having pitted quite early, Swablu in a good position now. Actually haven't been more consistent on lap pace than it seems than Joe of the Fire, who's lost out big time over the last couple of laps. And now Wake is pitting in as well. So in comes the Belgian from second place in the second of the two TSR Porsches. The black and yellow one. Quick tire change and then fueling. Up comes Wake again, of course, holding on to that second place quite comfortably, as we would expect. CJ, we had a shorter stop nonetheless. Fred Dude is in as well. So this is an interesting one. There are new tires, of course. What else to expect here, Fred Dude? The GT leader. Gonna be here for Swablu. Onto that back straight. I don't think Swablu's gonna inherit the lead though here. at that, Joe of the Fire and Fred Dude just getting right back into it here. Swablu did indeed, or in fact, inherit the lead, and we're gonna have another look here as Fred Dude exits the pit to the side of a flying FT1 there on the outside. Joe of the Fire then cuts back. It's gonna be close enough. Certainly no. Fred Dude holds on. And Swablu is now seemingly they're all on one stop. Though Swablu stopped somewhat earlier and is on the regular softs, not the super softs, and is at the moment also being hunted down by these two. Joe of the Fire, of course, right back into it as well. And Canoni on that safety car. Well, traffic, my friend. Traffic happens, traffic can happen. You never know what's gonna happen. Welcome to everyone who's joining in here more or less mid-race with half the race gone. It is, of course, a great pleasure having you all joining in along here for the NES. Round 3 from the Nürburgring GP here as Swablu gets a little bit of a bad exit, and then it's gonna open the door for Fred Dude for sure. I think the Brit is gonna try to go defensive in the GTR. Question is, a little bit of lag as well here. Joe of the Fire with a major send, and what the hell just happened there? The witty professor clearing out the table for Fred Dude. And I have rarely seen anything of the like before. We're gonna go on board to have another look. Actually very impressive, managing not to pick up any damage there. Swablu being saved. I think they were all pretty much saved in that situation, as Joe of the Fire for a short moment there became a moving missile more or less. It was Martin now yet again catching up to the GT leaders. Jesus, indeed. There is Martin getting through safely. Wake half a minute down, of course, having not pitted yet. Pinkery on the way in. Indeed, David, that was extremely close. Look at this though, CJ having closed some of the gap up to Wake. It's now 6.3 seconds between the two. So nonetheless not completely untouchable. The 919s here, it seems. Swablu still leading in the GTs. Martin now pitting in for the first time. Run the tank all the way to the bottom end of it. Impressive stuff from the TSR driver on one set of super softs. He's done very well to keep it there. And here is Fred Dude. It's gonna be this time around. It's gonna be late send up the inside into the plunge there as grip disappears. And still Swablu trying to hold off there, and Fred Dude gets a nudge from the GTR, getting shoved out wide. It's become very chaotic with the lag from Swablu, the lag that I'm seeing. I think the other cars are both seeing and feeling it too. We're gonna have another look at exactly what happened here before on board with the Fred Dude. Tried to send it up the inside. All of a sudden, lagging seemed to commence at a very bad time. I'm not sure that push was any of Swablu's either intention or fault. Nevertheless, exactly what you want to see when you're coming up to overtake someone. That connection for that time at least did not look good. Seems to be better for now at least. Maybe not perfect. So now Wake somehow has inherited the lead in front of Martin. Those two very, very close together. CJ about those 7-8 seconds behind. Then Sailor very much on an island, and the same goes for Pinkery. So Joe of the Fire having gotten past on Fred Dude as well, and is now defending. An interesting one to say the least. This three-way battle now for the GT lead. Although Swablu seems to be suffering a little bit on cornering pace, then all of a sudden it just keeps up just fine yet again here. Bear is also not too far back at all, and is back into this scrap for the GT lead as well. Certainly not bad from the Indonesian here. Wake in the LMP lead moves safely up through Bear. Here comes Martin powering up on the outside as well. Of course, it's also a battle between the two 919s to be king of the hill here. And then in third it is indeed CJ, 5 seconds down. The LMP's moving in towards the final 10 laps of racing, 13 laps to go. So 2/3 of the race done. A little bit more than that actually. It's Wake, it's Martin, and then CJ in third place. Oh, and here Joe of the Fire. Stuff is happening in the GT Pro battle as well. And that was just Martin lapping there. Joe of the Fire having retaken the lead, now leading Fred Dude. And Swablu, who's fallen off the pace here. Yeah, quite a bit more than half the race gone indeed. Oh, don't be sorry for pointing out what we miss on so many occasions here ourselves. And here is Fred Dude. Now within half a second of Joe of the Fire. What's it gonna be? Well, of course, nothing this time around. But it most certainly has been a good battle so far. The GT front runners so close indeed. Same goes for the two 919s actually, also about separated by under 2 seconds. There's of course the machines of Wake and Martin. It's a little bit of a surprise to see Martin being behind on Wake at this moment. Expect to see Martin maybe clear ahead. He's sort of fresher tires, that's for sure. Though at the moment CJ just 5 seconds down. Those two Porsches here, they're having to keep their foot down for sure. It's Martin's pass on Bear or Joe of the Fire. Look what's back. Fred Dude is back. Look who's back, we can say safely. I don't think Joe of the Fire will be that thrilled by the look of what is in his mirrors yet again now. With Fred Dude hammering on there. Bear having gotten past on Swablu as well. That's interesting stuff. That's an old replay, of course. In comes Swablu for the final pit stop. So still Wake by 1.5 seconds to Martin, and still too close to call between the two GT Pro front runners here. Still Joe of the Fire holding on to that slender advantage in front of Fred Dude, and then Joe of the Fire's teammate. And the other nuke shot FT1 is Y-Bear there, just visible behind. Swablu, I think, is suffering a little bit from the tire wear of the GTR here today. We need a very strong finish to the race in order to claim that podium spot. And Fred Dude has looked like the fastest driver, but Joe of the Fire has done such a good job of staying in contention. And we're just gonna have to check here on Wake. It's now beginning to get caught, it seems, by Martin. At the same time, trying to distance CJ. And here is Joe of the Fire on board with the wang cam of the FT1. Just through the chicane and up towards the final corner. And oh, I think Fred Dude had a little bit of contact there with the inside wall. And the question is, how bad was it for Fred Dude? We're on board with the Belgian here. Oh, that was just the curb. Slightly getting thrown off it there. Still a brilliant battle here. Fred Dude and Joe of the Fire. Fred Dude, who I think still has pulled off the overtake of the day. It's just bad luck that it hasn't been sticking. I think Fred Dude at a crucial time got caught up in the lag there of Swablu. The gap is also closing there as into the hairpin here. He's trying to thread his way through Fred Dude, but it's not really working out for him yet. They're now getting caught, and is that the LMP leaders in behind? That's a good question. Joe of the Fire. The half a second advantage is going to be enough to hold on to it into turn one at least. We hear Martin now really beginning to gain on teammate TSR Wake. And at the very same time, they've managed to put CJ 9 seconds behind him. And yeah, indeed, Canoni, that's also the right way to retire. I can tell you, I have retired from 1 or 2 races in the same manner myself. Still Joe of the Fire. There isn't really that long left now. 8 laps of racing as Wake now also has to defend from Martin. And the question is, will we see team orders between the two TSR cars? I have a bit of a hard time believing in that. Although I don't think they're gonna go toe-to-toe too hard as well. But Martin on those fresher tires is quickly passing or catching. We'll see if he'll be also passing Wake as quickly as he's been catching him. That half a second gap could diminish very quickly as well. Look here up through the Schumacher S's. A big difference in speed as well between the two here. Wybear in for a late pit stop, so that is gonna help. That it's gonna help Swablu onto the podium. Wake still defending well. Joe of the Fire seemingly doing the same here through the stadium section. What happened to CJ? Well, nothing happened to CJ. CJ's been running a perfectly smooth race all the way through. But the Tomahawk has been a little bit off the pace of the Porsches here as Martin is going to be having a look into turn one. And now side by side, the two teammates. Still Wake in front though. They both get safely past on Swablu, who's now also back up into third place in class. And all at the same time, Joe of the Fire is still defending from Fred Dude. He's looking to win this one. Still Wake. So we're on board with the Belgian in the lead. Six more laps. That's basically 6.5 laps of racing left. It's gonna amount to just about 10 minutes, I guess. Wake now by 0.6 of a second in front of Martin. And we're having a look back here with Joe of the Fire and Fred Dude, because the Belgian in this case is second. He's chasing Joe of the Fire with a strong defense from Wake and a strong offense here from Fred Dude at the end. Could be a Belgian double victory here tonight at the Nürburgring. We have Jimmy confirming the TSR boys that keeping it clean is very much on the agenda here. Fred Dude having a look. Joe of the Fire knowing how to defend, but Fred Dude carrying great momentum, great pace around the outside. Having a look here. And if he can keep up the inside there into the final bit of the stadium section, he might just make it stick. Joe of the Fire squeezed really wide here. That's the Hamilton line. He's just about able to defend in the end, I think, the witty professor. Fred Dude is trying everything at the moment. Here is another look at that battle from before. As Fred Dude just squeezed around the outside and then managed to get in there. Joe of the Fire though really maximizing exit speed on the outside. And yet again side by side, and this time I think it's going to be really hard to defend from Joe of the Fire, as it's Fred Dude with not a lot of laps left taking the lead. This time Joe of the Fire might be sending it right back up the inside, but no, the Belgian is holding on to it. Brilliant stuff. We're gonna have another look yet again. Gonna be on board with Fred Dude here down towards the hairpin. It's a carbon copy of that brilliant send from before, and Joe of the Fire though trying to cut back. Belgian in the end getting a really good run, and that's when we joined the action. Fred Dude is up into the GT lead and is now trying to swiftly dispatch with Joe of the Fire there in second place, and at the same time Martin and Wake is catching up to both of them. And what's it going to be between those two? Because Martin's now got the run on Wake, and I think that's going to be Dutch takeover. Down towards turn one they go side by side. Has been Martin in the lead though for some inches, and we're gonna have another look here on board with Wake. Gets a little too wide there. Martin's already aside him here, and at this point it's already more or less hopeless. TSR Martin at this late stage of the race has reclaimed the lead and made it swift in the end, made it count. Didn't waste too much time about it. Brilliant stuff from the two TSR boys. And what a move we saw before by Fred Dude. That was absolutely fantastic. It's been really great talent on display from Fred Dude here today as CJ makes his way past Joe of the Fire, who I think just seems to have to give up. CJ's gap to the car in front is now 8 seconds. At the same time, CJ's stuck ever so slightly here behind Fred Dude. That certainly isn't going to be helping at all. And then behind Joe of the Fire is Swablu, 24 seconds down. A couple of seconds clear on Ybear, Opiolu on an island. And same goes for Tshust. And by the way, Sailor also very much on an island, 25 seconds down on CJ. Though 16 seconds clear of Pinkery. And Wake really not able to keep up with teammate Martin here at this late stage. Joe of the Fire pitting in. I think that's going for fastest lap. No, Joe of the Fire on those regular softs on this stint. And Fred Dude staying on the super softs. And that might just be the difference in pace that we were seeing before. Here Joe of the Fire in for the aforementioned set. I'm quite sure that's going to be a set of super softs. Here it is, exiting back out, actually closer than I think you would expect it to be to Swablu, but in the end in front. And it's of course going for fastest lap and the point that comes along with it, Joe of the Fire. And that in the end does make good sense. Here is Martin powering along, hammering along towards a very nice 1-2 victory for TSR Simracing. 3 more laps remaining. Oh, and we see CJ is gonna go for fastest lap as well, but Martin, look at that 1:39.9. And I think CJ might have a hard time responding to that. Fred Dude pits in as well. Wants to make sure that he gets a chance to grab fastest lap as well. CJ well clear of Sailor as well. That's 5 seconds, so they all have the time for these kind of moves at this point of the race. Fred Dude seems confident as well in the situation. Although that one is going to be a little bit closer than many of the other ones there. Joe of the Fire is going to be right back into it. That's a very confident move indeed from Fred Dude. And that's brought Joe of the Fire much closer than I think the Belgian would have ever anticipated here. Joe of the Fire is already pressuring and making all kinds of moves. That might not have been the best of decisions by Fred Dude. That race win was in the bag. And now Joe of the Fire on fresh super softs. Mind you, he was on regular softs before and he kept up just well. This time he might actually have a little bit of advantage, or at least similar, very similar pace to Fred Dude. Around goes Pinkery in the second of the Rolex cars, and here Joe of the Fire has a look and a slight touch to the inside of Fred Dude's car, although he perfectly knows that he has to back out of it at the end here. That's an old replay from before. That lost out a little bit of time for Joe of the Fire. Vital time here, just a few laps from the finish of the race. 1.5 lap to go for our race leader, TSR Martin. It's looking very strong at the moment. Wake is second, then it's CJ in third place. 1:39.3, that's of course the last out lap for CJ. Not a countable lap towards the fastest lap of the race in the end. There's a big gap by now, 6 seconds between Martin and Wake. So the strategy has worked out just well for TSR Martin. Pinkery in 5th place. Fred Dude there in 6th. Still haunted by Joe of the Fire right in behind. And Canoni is back on track. That's very much worth mentioning and worth watching. They've gotten the Fanta R8 back on track for a final bit of running here. That's great to see. Acting like it's the mechanic's job and not Canoni's own decision. Martin just improved, further improved on his fastest lap. CJ goes well here, 1:39.7. Well enough, those Martin's 1:39.6 at the moment here. This is the final lap of racing, albeit also the final lap, the final chance for anyone wanting to improve on their laps here. You see Fred Dude, he's improving on his personal best. Joe of the Fire's picked up half a second's worth of penalty, and I think that's going to be the nail in the coffin for the Witty Professor in the end whatsoever here as they come across for the penultimate time. One more lap to complete for the GTs. It's looking very good for Fred Dude at the moment with this half a second penalty for Joe of the Fire. See final lap here for Fred Dude, 1:54.2. And the equivalent Joe of the Fire last lap there, 1:54.1. The question is, will it count with the penalty? I'm not sure about that at all. Here, TSR Martin, and they're bringing it home for a formation finish. Indeed, the two TSR cars is going to be a 1-2 for TSR. It's going to be a 1-2 for Porsche here as well at the Nürburgring, with Martin taking the win in front of Wake. Indeed, very, very strong performance here. Coming home for 3rd place, and an attempt, a final attempt at the fastest lap is CJ, the Volex driver, and what's it gonna be for him? He's just about gonna take it by 16 thousandths of a second. CJ takes the final lap on the fastest lap. I'm sorry, on the final lap. Martin just gifted the win. Martin did actually just gift the win. What a Rubens. Oh well. In the GTs there is Sailor and Pinkery coming across the line. Those actually ended up pretty close. Here's Joe of the Fire, and Fred Dude is going to take it all the way to the line, and I think Joe of the Fire has now gotten himself into the lead. The thing is, he'll have to get rid of the penalty, and that means Fred Dude sending it right back up the inside. You have a second to get rid of. There's going to be no way for Joe of the Fire. It is going to be Fred Dude taking it. Well, I just thought, as we saw that on the final lap, did look like a very close battle here as Canoni spins through the final corner. Fred Dude picks up a brilliant win in the GT Pros. There's that situation from before with Joe of the Fire. And that means Y-Bear gets 3rd in the end in front of Swablu, who's maybe that's because he's driving around with no wheels on the car. Opiolu is gonna come home for 5th. It's been 6th for Chashast and 7th for Canoni in the GTs. Oh, congratulations to our race winners, and congratulations to, well, it goes for both classes. TSR Wake, I guess, and Fred Dude in the GTs, and of course Martin, Crazy John, and Joe of the Fire and Y-Bear for rounding off the podiums as well. And I'm afraid that today I am gonna cut the interviews because I am absolutely knackered after commentating on the IGTL earlier today and this race as well. I feel like I can hardly construct any kind of sentence anymore, so that's gonna be it. But thanks for tuning in to the NES tonight. It's been a pleasure having you all along. I hope you've enjoyed the racing as well, and we'll be back shortly for more GT Sport racing, for more Dirt and Rally, and hopefully a note on the channel. Throw us a like on the video if you like what we do, and if you feel like it, well, feel free to subscribe as well. And with that said, well, that'll be it for me, DirtenDK. Thanks for tonight, and until next time, take care, have fun, bye bye.